total there are 2 lectures of female reproductive organs. So first let us see which are the female genital organs or reproductive organs. The organs are divided into 3 parts: external organs, internal organs, and secondary organs. External organs are labia majora, labia minora, clitoris, vestibule, and greater vestibular glands. Internal organs are uterus, fallopian tubes, vagina, and ovaries. And secondary organ is mammary gland, which you have already learned in couple. So in today's lecture, you will learn the internal organs in detail. These are uterus, various parts of uterus like cervix, vagina, both fallopian tubes, and ovaries. So in this lecture, you will learn the detailed anatomy of uterus. Rest of the portion will be covered in the next lecture, like uterine tube and ovaries. So here you can see in the images how the organs are arranged. See, there is one uterus. The lower part of uterus is called cervix and vagina. Now on either side of uterus there are 2 fallopian tubes or uterine tubes. And below the fallopian tubes, on the posterior aspects, there are 2 ovaries. So these are the objectives which you will learn today about uterus. Its morphological features, which include size, shape, anatomical position, which is very important. Anatomical parts like fundus, body, cervix, and vagina. Various surfaces and borders and its relations, supports of uterus, and some applied aspects. Out of all the objectives, the morphological features of uterus can be asked as a short note, in which you have to describe all these points like size, shape, anatomical position, anatomical parts, surfaces, and borders. These are the morphological features. The next question that can be asked is the supports of uterus. Supports of uterus can itself be asked as a short note, and certain applied aspect. So the uterus word is derived from the word hystera, and from that hystera various words derived like hysterectomy. Hysterectomy means removal of uterus. Hysteroscopy means visualization, internal visualizations of uterus. Hysterosalpingography, again it's a radiological procedure to visualize the uterus and tube, which is a thick wall. See here in the sagittal section, it will show you the uterus. Thick wall, pear-shaped, hollow muscular organ having a cavity inside the uterus. Here you can see the slit-like cavity. So it's a hollow muscular organ. It lies in the pelvic cavity behind urinary bladder. See, this is urinary bladder, and in front of rectum. So it lies between the urinary bladder in front and the rectum behind. What is the function of uterus? You must know the function of uterus. It provides the implantation of the zygote, and it retains the product of conception till the baby exits its independent existence, till the completion of 9 months. So that is the main function of the uterus. Again, here you can see the location of uterus in the pelvic cavity. In front it is related with the bladder and behind with the rectum. Now the size and shape of the uterus. Total length of the uterus is around 7.5 centimeter, which includes the fundus and body is around 5 centimeter and cervix is 2.5 centimeter in length. Width is 5 to 7 centimeter. Thickness is 2 to 3 centimeter. Weight is around 30 to 40 grams. But in pregnancy, it comes around 500 grams. In adult, length of the body of uterus is double than the length of cervix. But in the children, the length of cervix is double than the length of the body of uterus. So this is the ratio of the body and cervix in the adult as well as in the children. Now the anatomical position of uterus. See, the anatomical position is not straight vertical, but it has some angle. So it is described as an anteverted and anti-flexed position. Now what does it mean? What is anteversion and what is anteflexion? So the angle of anteversion, which is around 90 degree, it is nothing but the angle between the long axis of cervix and long axis of vagina. This version word is related with the vagina. So the angle between the cervix and is an angle of anteflexion. Now what is the angle of anteflexion? It is an angle between the long axis of body of uterus and degree. It become more clear in this diagram. See, this is the long axis of body, then this one is the long axis of cervix and long axis of vagina, which is downward and forward. Right. So at two places there are the angle present at the two places. So what is the angle of anteversion? Version, as I told you, version is the word which is used for the vagina. So the angle between long axis of cervix and long axis of vagina, this angle is called the angle of anteversion and it is around 90 degree. Just like that, what is the anteflexion? Angle between the long axis of body, see the long axis of body, almost transverse, and the long axis of cervix, and it's around 125 degree. So this is the anatomical position of the uterus. So whenever you hold the specimen of the uterus in viva, you have to hold in its anatomical position. Like you have to bend the body forward and cervix downward and backward. So these are the two angles, angle of anteversion and angle of anteflexion. Now the anteversion and anteflexion position is maintained by two main cardinal ligaments. One of them is the round ligament of uterus, which pull the fundus of uterus forward. And second one is the uterosacral ligament, which pull the cervix backward. And these two forces will maintain this anteversion and anteflexion position. So it is also an important for the support of uterus. We will see in detail the support of uterus. What are the supports of uterus? Now, normal anatomical position is anteversion and anteflexion. But in some women, you can find the reverse position. Just reverse to the anteversion and anteflexion. That is the backward angulation of the uterus. And that is called the retroversion and retroflexion. It is present in some percentage of the women. Physiological retroversion is present during when the urinary bladder it fills completely with the urine. So this anteversion and anteflexion position of uterus is seen when the bladder is empty, but gradually when the bladder fills with the urine, gradually the uterus become in the vertical line with the vagina or more retroverted and retroflexion. So that is physiological retroversion. Again, if bladder empties, the uterus comes in its normal anatomical position. Communication of uterine cavity. See, this is the coronal section of the uterus, in which you can see the cavity of the body of uterus, communication with the cavity of cervix, and cavity of cervix opens into the vagina. So this is the communication. Now let us see the anatomical parts of the uterus. Whole uterus is divided into four parts. Upper dome-shaped portion. As it is seen here, this is the fundus. Then the body of uterus, and lower portion is called the cervix. The portion between the body and the cervix, the junctional point, is called the isthmus. And this is the vagina. Again, you can see the four parts. Upper portion, which is fundus. Fundus has no cavity. Body is having cavity, which is triangular in shape in case of coronal section. Junctional point between the body and cervix, that is isthmus, which is slightly constricted portion. Here you can see the slight constriction. And the lower part is the cervix. So body is upper expanded, upper 2/3 part. Cervix is lower cylindrical 1/3 portion, and junction between the body and cervix, that constricted portion is called the isthmus. Now the fundus. See, when you draw the imaginary line which extends from the one uterine tube to the other uterine tube, the portion which lies above this imaginary line, that is the fundus of uterus. So it is the rounded upper part lies above the horizontal line joining the entry point of the fallopian tube, this portion. And the site of entry of uterine tube on the both the side, this portion is called the cornea or the lateral angle. So there are two lateral angles at the site of entry of the uterine tubes. This is also called the cornea of the uterus. Fundus is convex. As I told you, fundus is not having any cavity and it is covered by the peritoneum. Body, which extends from the fundus to the isthmus. So this portion. It contains uterine cavity which is triangular in shape in coronal section as it is seen in this figure. It has two surfaces, anterior and posterior surface, and two borders, two lateral borders. Two lateral borders. Now let us see the relations of anterior surface of the body of uterus. Here in this sagittal section you will see the three organs of the pelvic cavity from before backward. These are urinary bladder, uterus and rectum. And this green colored line shows you the reflection of peritoneum. Right? So the anterior surface is flat and it extends downward and forward in its anatomical position, and it is related with the upper surface of urinary bladder. See, this is the upper surface of urinary bladder. Now one peritoneal pouch which lies in between the upper surface of urinary bladder and anterior surface of uterus, that is uterovesical pouch of peritoneum. This is nothing but the reflection of peritoneum from the superior surface of urinary bladder to the anterior surface of uterus. So this is uterovesical pouch. Next is the posterior surface, which is convex and it runs upward and backward. And it is related with the sigmoid colon and rectum. Now the peritoneal pouch present in between these two is called the rectouterine pouch of Douglas. It is the reflection of peritoneum from the posterior surface of body of uterus to the anterior surface of the rectum and sigmoid. So this is the rectouterine pouch of the uterus. Two lateral borders which gives the attachments. These borders are rounded and convex outside. And this yellow color structure attached to the lateral border, that is the broad ligament. So it gives the attachment of broad ligament as well as it is related with the tortuous uterine vessels. Here you can see the uterine artery and uterine vein runs along the lateral border of the uterus. Now the two cornues or two angles, lateral angles. So which are the structures present at the lateral angle of the uterus? See, वर्क में भी identification पूछते हैं. So how will you identify the structures present at the lateral cornea of the uterus? Uppermost structure is the uterine tubes. In front of uterine tube, there is round ligament of uterus. Below and behind the uterine tube, there is ligament of ovary, which extends from the lower pole of the ovary to the lateral cornea of the uterus. So these are the three structures. If you remember the anatomical relations between these three structures, you can make out the anatomical position of uterus. Like the uterine tube is the uppermost structure, so keep it superiorly. Round ligament lies in front of uterus, in front of uterine tube, so keep it anteriorly. And the ovary as well as ligament of ovary lies behind and below the uterine tube. So by seeing the arrangement of structure at the lateral cornea, you can determine which is the anterior surface and which is the posterior surface of the uterus, and you can also determine the anatomical position of the uterus. So uppermost is the uterine tube, keeping superiorly in front of uterine tube, down ligament of uterus. Below and behind the uterine tube, there is ligament of ovary as well as ovary. So keep the ovary posteriorly. Okay. Now the cavity of the uterus. It is slit-like cavity in the sagittal section, as it is seen here, and it is triangular in shape. And we know the implantation of the embryo takes place in the uppermost segments of the posterior wall of the uterine cavity. So the implantation takes place on the posterior wall of the uterine cavity, not on the anterior wall. Remember this thing, site of implantation. Next portion is the cervix. The parts which lies below the isthmus is like only the constricted portion at the junction of body and the cervix, that is the isthmus. So below that, this portion is the cervix. It is more fixed and cylindrical in shape, around 2.5 centimeter long. And if you see the lowermost portion of the cervix projects into the anterior wall of the vagina. This is the vagina. So it projects into the vagina. So the attachments of the vagina divides the cervix into two portions. The one which lies above it, that is supravaginal part, which lies below or within the vagina, that is vaginal part. So again, cervix is divided into two parts, supravaginal as well as vaginal part. These two parts. The relations of these two parts are different. So let us see first relations of the supravaginal portion. As here you can see, this is the attachments of vagina. Here you can see the two lines. So this much portion is the supravaginal part. Below it, this is the this is the vaginal part. So the interior aspects of the supravaginal and one pouch, that is uterovesical pouch. These two. Just like that, the posterior surface is related with the rectouterine pouch of Douglas and with the anterior aspects of the rectum. On each side or the lateral aspect, here you can see the two different parts. This is the supravaginal part and vaginal part. So laterally, here you can see on each side it is related with the ureter. So these two rounded cut section of the ureter. Above and in front of ureter, there is uterine vessels. So uterine vessels enters into the broad ligament of uterus, just lateral to the supravaginal part of the cervix. Then it is also gives the attachment of lower margin of the broad ligament of uterus. Here you can see the attachments, and with another gives the attachments of another ligament, that is transverse cervical ligament, that we will see. Now the vaginal portion, the part which projects into the interior wall of the vagina, that is the vaginal part. It is conical in shape, having blunt tip, and it opens into the vagina through the external os or external opening. See the shape of the external opening. It is different in nulliparous woman and in the multiparous woman. So in the nulliparous woman, the shape of the external os is small and circular, while in multiparous woman it is transverse slit-like. Now if you notice one thing, there is a space between the vaginal part of cervix and the vagina. This space is known as fornices. There are four fornices. One lies anteriorly, that is anterior fornix, one posterior fornix, and two lateral fornix. So what is fornix? It is a space between the vaginal wall and the vaginal part of the cervix. Here you can see the space. Out of the four fornices, the posterior fornix is the deepest one. Posterior fornix is the deepest. Now let us see the cavity inside the cervix, which is known as endocervical canal. It is fusiform in shape, communicates above with the uterine cavity through the internal os, and below with the vagina through the external os. If you see the histological structure grossly, in the cavity of endocervical canal or cavity of the cervix, there lies various mucosal fold. There is one longitudinal mucosal fold, and there are certain oblique mucosal fold extend upward and laterally from this central part. And if you resemble this pattern with the branches of the tree, it is called the arbor vitae tree. This pattern of the mucosal folds, which is seen in the endocervical canal, it is called. And the folds on the opposite walls, they interdigitate with each other to close the cervical canal till the end of 9 months of the pregnancy. So it retains the baby within the uterine cavity till 9 months. That was about the morphological features of the uterus. Now the most important part of the uterus, these are the ligaments of uterus. Ligaments are divided into two parts, true ligament and the false ligament. True ligaments are the round ligament of uterus, transverse cervical ligament, uterosacral ligament, and pubocervical ligament. False ligament are nothing but the peritoneal folds between the uterus and various other viscera, like the uterovesical fold, rectovaginal, rectouterine fold, and broad ligament. So remember, the broad ligament is not the true ligament, but it is the peritoneal folds. Now let us see first round ligament. It is the fibromuscular band present on the either side of the uterus at the lateral cornu in front of uterine tube. It is around 10 to 12 centimeter long, extending from the lateral cornu, just in front of the uterine tube, and lies at the upper border of the broad ligament of uterus. From the lateral cornu, the both round ligament runs laterally, then downward and forward, passes through the deep inguinal ring, enters into the inguinal canal, comes out through the superficial inguinal ring. It is one of the content of inguinal canal, which you have already learned. Comes out from the superficial inguinal ring, and how it ends? It divides into the various strands, and which merges with the subcutaneous tissue of the labia majora. Now, just like the testis, this round ligament of uterus carries along with it a fold of the peritoneum. But later on, this fold of the peritoneum will degenerate. But if it is persist along with the round ligament of uterus, that fold is called the canal of Nuck. So, what is canal of Nuck? It is nothing but the persistent fold of peritoneum runs along with the round ligament of uterus. That is called the canal of Nuck. Just like a persistent processus vaginalis, which runs along with the testis. Just like that. This is the canal of Nuck. Now, how it supports the uterus? It pulls the fundus of the uterus forward, and thus it maintains the anteversion and anteflexion positions of the uterus. Other ligament of the uterus, other true ligament, here in this transverse section you can see the certain ligaments extending horizontally, certain extends in front anteriorly, and certain backward from the cervix of the uterus. So which are these ligaments? These are the paired transverse cervical ligament, paired pubocervical ligament, and uterosacral ligament. Now let us see one by one. First is the transverse cervical ligament, which is also called the neck and rolls ligament. Here you can see the transverse cervical ligament. This ligament is the broad fan-shaped ligament. It is nothing but the condensation of the parametrial tissue of the uterus. What is the attachments of the ligament? It extends from the supravaginal part of the cervix to the lateral pelvic wall. One of the muscle of it is the levator ani muscle. So it extends from the supravaginal part of cervix to the levator ani muscle. Now this ligament prevents downward displacement of the uterus through the vagina. And that's why it is the main cardinal ligament. And in case of the prolapse of uterus, tightening of this ligament is performed. This is the main ligament which supports the uterus from below, and it prevents the downward displacement. Neck-and root ligament is the cardinal ligament, and tightening of the neck-and root ligament is performed during the prolapse of uterus. Next is the uterosacral ligament, which extends from the supravaginal part of the cervix on either side of the rectum to the sacrum, S2 and S3 segments of the sacrum. Again, it is a condensation of the endopelvic fascia. What is the main role of this ligament? Here again you can see this uterosacral ligament extending on either side of the rectum. Now it will carry, the uterosacral ligament will carry certain lymphatics of the cervix along with it, and it pulls the cervix backward. Thus it maintains the anteflexion and anteversion position of the uterus. Pubocervical ligament, which extends from the cervix forward on either side of urinary bladder to the pelvic surface of the body of the pubis. Again, it is a condensation of the endopelvic fascia. So you have seen the round ligament of uterus, then three cervical ligament, transverse cervical ligament, uterosacral ligament, and pubocervical ligament. These are the true ligaments. Now, which are the folds ligament? These are nothing but the fold of the peritoneum between the uterus and the various viscera. Like in front, there is uterovesical fold between the upper surface of bladder and anterior surface of uterus. Behind, rectouterine fold and rectovaginal fold between the vagina and the rectum. Main false ligament is in the form of broad ligament, which can be asked as a 3-mark short note. Broad ligament itself can be asked as a short note. So these are the double layer fold of the peritoneum extend on each side from the lateral border of the uterus to the lateral pelvic wall. This yellow colored fold is called the broad ligament. Again, it has two layers, anterior layer and posterior layer. Two surface, antero-inferior surface and posterior surface. Here you can see the ovary. So this surface must be a posterior-inferior surface. As I told you, ovary lies posteriorly. So the surface of the uterus is the posterior surface. Having four borders, upper borders, lower border, medial border attached to the uterus and the lateral border. So these are the parts of the broad ligament. Upper border is the free border. Here both layers, anterior as well as posterior layers, become continuous with each other. It gives the attachment of uterine tube in its medial 3/4 part of the upper border of the broad ligament and the suspensory ligament of ovary. See here in its lateral 1/4 part of the upper border of broad ligament. So there are two structures which is present at the upper border. One is the uterine tube in its medial 3/4 part, and the second is the suspensory ligament of ovary in its lateral 1/4 part. Then the lower border. If you see the lower border of at the lower border of broad ligament, both layers diverge. Here you can see this is the posterior layer, and this one is the anterior layer. It attached to the pelvic floor. Then at the lower border of the broad ligament, it is related with the ureter laterally and uterine arteries in front of the ureter from lateral to medial side. And at the lower border, if you see the uterine artery runs between the two layers and it enters into the broad ligament. So how the uterine artery enters into the broad ligament, through which part? Through the lower border. It runs between the two layers. Remember this thing, it runs between the two layers of the broad ligament. And here it is closely related with the ureter. This also you have to remember the relations of uterine artery with the ureter. See, the uterine artery crosses the ureter from lateral to medial in front. Is closely related with the ureter. You have to keep these relations in your mind while doing any surgery to the uterus. While doing any cesarean section, while doing hysterectomy, you have to keep these relations in your mind so that you cannot damage the ureter. It is the most common structures which get damaged during any surgery of the uterus. So you have to search the ureter first and keep it at the side while doing any surgery. Now the medial border. Medial border, if you see here, it is attached to the lateral margin of the uterus and it is closely related with the tortuous uterine vessels, artery as well as vein. Lateral border, if you see here, this is vertical lateral border which is attached to the lateral pelvic wall. Antero-inferior surface. See here the anatomical position. You can make out the three viscera, which is urinary bladder, uterus, and rectum with the sigmoid fold, right? So the portion which lies between the bladder and the anterior aspects of the uterus, this is the antero-inferior surface. So antero-inferior surface of broad ligament is related with the urinary bladder and paravesical fossa, the fossa which lies on either side of the urinary bladder. This is the posterior surface. The most important structures which lies in the posterior surface, that is ovary. See here, and this fold of the peritoneum related with the ovary, that is mesoovarium. Here you can see the double layer fold which covers the ovary, that is the mesoovarium. Now let us see the various subdivisions of the broad ligament of uterus. If it is asked in a short note, you have to mention the 4 subdivisions. Now there are 2 ligaments related with the ovary. Medially, this is the ligament of ovary, and laterally suspensory ligament of ovary. Right? Now let us see the subdivisions. The first one is in between the uterine tube and ovary. This subdivision is the mesosalpinx. Salpinx means related with the tube. So mesosalpinx is the portion between the uterine tube and the ovary. That is mesosalpinx. Then the rest of the portion below the ovary, that is mesometrium. Third one is the suspensory ligament of ovary, extending from the ovary to the lateral pelvic wall, and it suspends the ovary from above. So again, it is a subdivision of the broad ligament. And fourth one is covers the ovary and with the double layer, that is mesoovarium. So remember, the ligament of ovary is not a part of broad ligament. Remember this thing, there are only the 4 subdivisions: mesosalpinx, mesometrium, mesoovarium, and suspensory ligament. Suspensory ligament of ovary is a part of broad ligament. Now let us see each part in detail and what are the content of this part. Mesosalpinx, as I told you, the part of the broad ligament between the uterine tube and the ovary. That portion is called the mesosalpinx. So what are the contents of mesosalpinx? Here you can see the certain remnants of duct and tubules of the epiphoron and periphoron. So these remnants are present in the mesosalpinx. Then it contains the uterine tube itself. It covers the uterine tube. Another contents are, here you can see in the schematic diagram. This is the mesosalpinx, and you will find the anastomosis between the uterine vessels, within the uterine artery, and the ovarian vessels. So what are the contents of mesosalpinx? These are the duct and tubules of epiphoron and periphoron, then uterine tube itself, and anastomosis between the uterine and ovarian vessels. Second portion is the mesometrium, the portion which extends from the ovary and ligament of ovary to the base of the broad ligament. This is the base of broad ligament. This is the mesometrium. Now, here you can see the entry of uterine artery between the 2 layers, just lateral to the cervix. So one of the content of mesometrium is the uterine artery. So it extends from the ovary and ligament of ovary to the base of the broad ligament. This broad one is the mesometrium. And here you can see the double layer. See the 2 layers of the peritoneum. And between the 2 layers, if you see here, there is an entry of uterine artery just lateral to the cervix. And as it enters into the broad ligament, it is closely related with the ureter. See, this is the ureter. You see the close relationship between the ureter and uterine artery. Uterine artery goes in front of ureter from lateral to medial side. Then mesoovarium. It is the double layered fold of the broad ligament which covers the ovary, and it acts as a hilum of the ovary, which gives the passage for the ovarian vessels and ovarian nerves. Again, here you can see the two layers of broad ligament. I will explain this figure with last. And if you see the mesoovarium, which derived from the posterior layer. See, this is the posterior layer, and this one is the anterior layer. The rest of the portion, these are the mesosalpinx, mesometrium, and the suspensory ligament of ovary. These are the derived from both anterior as well as the posterior layer of broad ligament. But this mesoovarium is only derived from the posterior layer, and it covers the ovary. Now, last portion, last subdivision of the broad ligament is the suspensory ligament of ovary or infundibulopelvic ligament. This ligament extends from the lower pole of the ovary to the pelvic rim or to the lateral pelvic wall. What are the content of this ligament? These are the ovarian vessels and nerves. So let me show you all the four parts and its arrangement. See the double layer fold of the broad ligament. This is the anterior layer. Then this one is the posterior layer. These two layers. Right now, what are the subdivisions? As it encloses certain structures, it will be divided into various parts. See here, this is the mesosalpinx, which covers the fallopian tube, and it derives from both anterior as well as posterior layers. As the anterior and posterior layer runs upward, it covers the fallopian tube. So this is the content. Second portion is the mesometrium. As the both layer runs downward towards the base of the broad ligament, and it covers the uterine vessels. Tortuous uterine vessels runs between the two layers. Right? As you trace the anterior layer further anteriorly, then it also covers the round ligament of uterus. And the posterior layer runs posteriorly and covers the ovary in the form of mesoovarium. So these are the various parts of the broad ligament. Again, here this is the schematic diagram shows you the sagittal section of the broad ligament. The most posteriorly, this is the ovary. Above and in front, this is the fallopian tube. Behind the fallopian tube, there lies ligament of ovary and ovary. Below and in front of the fallopian tube, there lies round ligament. And this blue color, these are nothing but the double layered broad ligament and its various parts. So this portion is the mesoovarium derived from the posterior layer. This portion is the mesosalpinx derived from both layers. And as you trace it more below, it forms the mesometrium. So these are the various parts of the broad ligament. Now, most important things, these are the structures within the broad ligament. You have to remember the list of structures lies within the broad ligament. One is uterine tube at the upper border of the broad ligament. At the posterior aspects of the broad ligament, there is ovary and ovarian ligament. Then the round ligament of uterus, uterine vessels and ovarian vessels. Along with it, there is nerves, lymphatics and connective tissue, and the remnant of tubules and duct of echophoron and the tubules of periphoron. Again, you will learn about the echophoron and periphoron in embryology. So these are the list of the structures present within the broad ligament. Remember, the ureter is not a content of broad ligament. It will not cover the ureter. So let me show you the structures within the broad ligament. This is the uterine tube, ligament of ovary with the ovary, ovarian vessels and nerves running along the suspensory ligament of ovary. Uterine vessels enters into the broad ligament from the lower border, runs between the two layers, and the round ligament of uterus. So these are the main contents covered by the broad ligament. Here you can see the relations of uterine vessels and ovarian vessels. Right? And along with the vessels, there lies nerves, lymphatics, and connective tissues. So again, here you can see the structures within the broad ligament. See the anterior and posterior layer. It covers the ovary, fallopian tube, round ligament, uterine tube, right? But ureter is not the content of broad ligament unless and until it is pushed by the tumors of surrounding tissues. If there are surrounding tumors around the ureter, ureter will be pushed within the two layers of the broad ligament. So ureter is in its anatomical position is not a content of broad ligament. So that's all about the ligaments of the uterus, which also can be asked as a short note, in which you have to describe true ligaments and the false ligament. Now, what are the supports of uterus? Supports of uterus can be asked as a short note. Why there is need of support for the uterus, and which are the various supports which maintain the anteversion and anteflexion position of the uterus. See, in the sagittal section here, you can see when the urinary bladder is empty. If the bladder is empty, uterus lies in anteversion and anteflexion position. It is in the flex position. So that the anterior surface of the body of uterus rests on the upper surface of the upper surface of the urinary bladder. So in this position, there is no need of any support of uterus. Uterus can itself maintain its anatomical position, anteversion and anteflexion position. But with gradual distension of urinary bladder with the urine, what happens? The body of uterus lies in the erect posture with the vagina, and in this position, there is a chances of uterus descend down through the vagina, and this condition is called the prolapse of uterus. And that's why we need various muscular as well as fibrous and ligamental support, which prevents the downward displacement of uterus in case of the full bladder. So which are the various supports which prevents the prolapse of uterus? These are in the form of the muscular supports, pelvic diaphragm, muscles forming pelvic diaphragm, perineal body, and urogenital diaphragm. Again, these three structure in detail you will learn in the lecture of pelvic cavity. Fibromuscular supports are in the form of true ligament, which we have already seen. These are cervical ligament, transverse cervical, uterosacral, and round ligament. And certain peritoneal fold, false ligament like broad ligaments, lymphovesical fold, rectovaginal, rectouterine fold. So, if the support of uterus can be asked as a short note, you have to describe this ligament in detail, as we have seen attachments of this ligament, how it supports the different position of uterus. As for example, round ligament pulls the fundus of uterus forward, and thus it maintain the anteversion and anteflexion position. Just like that, you have to mention the supports of the other ligaments also. You have to describe the broad ligament in detail if it is just a short note, and various form. Now let me show you one diagram of these muscular support so that you can get an idea how it supports the uterus. Detail you will learn in the pelvic cavity. So which are the muscles forming pelvic diaphragm in female? See, this here you can see the pelvic diaphragm of the female. So which is pierced by the three opening, anterior urethra, then vagina, and then calcanum. So in female three. So two main muscles, levator muscle, which has two parts, pubococcygeus and iliococcygeus, also called the ischiococcygis. According to their origin, they are given the different name. The anterior most is the pubococcygeus, arising from the ilium iliococcygeus, and from the ischium ischiococcygis. So out of the three muscles, the levator ani muscle, its anterior portion, that is pubococcygeus, will support the uterus. How it supports, they can see the pubococcygeus in detail. It arises from the in successively from before backward from the body of the pubis, then the white line of the tendinous arch from the anterior half of the white line. What is the white line? That you will learn in detail in pelvic cavity. Then from its origin, if you see, the fibers runs downward and backward and medially, and the insertion will be divided into four parts. First part, which is the formed by the most anterior part, here in the female it is called the pubovaginalis, runs downward, backward and medial, passes on the two sides of the vagina and inserted on the perineal body over here, just behind the vagina. So how it supports it? Anterior fibers of the, that is pubovaginalis fibers, it constrict the vagina. It narrow down the opening of the vagina and that thus prevents the descent of the uterus and thus it supports the uterus. Second portion which supports the uterus of the pubococcygeus is the puborectalis part, which is formed by the middle fibers. From its origin, the fiber runs downward, backward, and medially behind the anorectal junction. So this is the anal canal. So the fibers passes behind it and become continuous with the opposite side to form the U-shaped puborectal sling. This sling, U-shaped puborectal sling, and it maintains the flexion between the rectum and anal canal. So anorectal flexures. Here you can see the flexures between these two portions, rectum and anal canal. See the puborectal sling winds down the anorectal junction, and this portion maintain the anorectal flexure. The main functions of the puborectal sling is it help in the continuance of feces and how it supports the uterus. See, if it maintains the flexion between the rectum and anal canal, the sloping surface of the anorectal junction will support the posterior vaginal wall. Here you can see the posterior vaginal wall, how it rests over the anorectal junction. And thus it supports the tip of the cervix. So this is the second part of the pubococcygeus which supports the uterus. One is the pubovaginalis that constricts the vagina, and second is the puborectal sling. So that's about the pelvic diaphragm. Then the next muscular support is the perineal body. Now what is it? It is a fibromuscular body which lies in between the vagina and anal canal. See the opening of the vagina and anal canal, about 1.25 centimeter in front of the anal canal. So here you will find the fibromuscular body, and this body is known as perineal body. It supports the posterior aspects of the vagina. See, the perineal body gives the, or it receives the attachments of so many muscles. So here you have to mention the name of the each muscles inserted on the perineal body. Which are these muscles? Posteriorly, sphincter ani externus. On either side of the sphincter ani externus, there are two levator ani muscles. Then on either side of it, superficial transverse perineum. Deep to it, there lies two deep transverse perineum. Anteriorly, there are two bulbocavernosus, and most anteriorly, sphincter of urethra, or in the vagina in female. So these are the 9 to 10 muscles inserted on the perineal body. You have to remember the name of the muscles inserted on the perineal body. So these muscles maintains the integrity of the pelvic floor. Here you can see this is this nodule between the vagina. This is the opening of vagina and anal canal. So this nodule is the perineal body, and there are certain muscles from all sides, from lateral side, from anterior aspect, from posterior aspects that inserted on the perineal body. So from anterior aspects, there are two bulbocavernosus. See here, bulbocavernosus passes on either side of urethra as well as the vagina and inserted on the perineal body. Then the muscle running transversely to superficial transverse perineum, deep to it, there lies deep transverse perineum. Then the levator ani muscle, which forms the floor of the pelvic diaphragm, and posteriorly external anal sphincter. So these are the muscle. Tone of this muscle determine the size of the hiatus urogenitalis. What is this hiatus? Hiatus gives the passage of two structures, anteriorly urethra and posteriorly vagina. So tone of this muscle which inserted on the perineal body will determine the size of the hiatus urogenitalis. That's how it maintain. It provides the supports to the uterus. So what are the most common cause of the uterine prolapse? And that is due to the tone of the perineal body during the repeated childbirth, during repeated vaginal delivery. And if it is not repaired properly, if the perineal body is not repaired properly, what happens there is enlargement of urogenital hiatus, and this leads to the dilatations of the vagina and ultimately descents of uterus. So that's how it supports the uterus. Last one is the urogenital diaphragm. There are two muscles of urogenital diaphragm. One is the sphincter urethri, and second one is the deep transverse perineum. Both these muscles closes the urogenital hiatus below the levator ani muscles. It is the levator ani muscle, and below it you find the urogenital diaphragm. So that's all about the support of the uterus. So the morphological features of the uterus can be asked as a short note, and support of the uterus can be asked as a short note. Rest of the two, ovary and uterine tube, that we will learn in the next lecture. So that's all. Now you enter your roll number.